In this short clip, I'm talking to Allan Price. Allan is the innovative brain behind the unique and powerful business finance concepts that are taught in the Creating Value online learning modules. Allan, please share the evolution of the Creating Value learning and tell us how it all came about.
In some way, it's my history. It's where I began. The very first question I ever asked, when I was a young architect at the time actually, was of a man. He was my father-in-law at the time, and he ran a public corporation, and I asked him, I've heard about this thing called markup. How do you know how much to mark up? And he said, in his Russian accent, he said, "We mark up 1%. That doesn't sound like enough. It's enough? He said, oh yes, he said, more than that it's greedy. And I said, could you give me an example? Because I don't understand. Architects, we don't understand percentages. He said, yes, if it costs us 100 rands to make our product, we must sell it for 200 rands, 1%. So I went from being an architect, I decided I needed to know more about business. That 1% answer didn't seem to cover it. And I entered the Wits Business School. By the way, at the time, in the day, was voted the top 10, one of the top 10 business schools in the world. And in that program, I discovered a world I never knew existed. And we had amazing teachers and lecturers, marvelous visitors from overseas. And in the accounting module, they were so bad. I sat there not knowing what they were talking about. It seemed so disjointed. I remember asking, why are there two documents? Why a balance sheet and an income statement? I don't understand. I had an apartment in Spain, and I took myself over the break to Spain, and I took all the books on finance, and most of them were around 1,500 pages long. And I studied them, and then I realized, you don't need 1,000 pages. You can do this in 100. And I wrote my book. And that's where it began. And the book ended up becoming a bestseller in business schools in the world of finance. And still today, years and years later, with the remaining book that is still sold at the best-selling volumes. And during the process, I began to develop not just reading material, but the e-learning program. But back then, it was distance learning on a disk. And that was a long time ago, and we won international prizes, many. Gold medals from the Institute of Bankers, from the Institute of Trainers. Prince Philip in England awarded my company the product most likely to succeed, and it did. We had A-list clients, Philips, BOAC, Rolls-Royce, really A-list. But it was 10 years before its time, and I couldn't manage that from South Africa, so I sold out. A genius colleague of mine, Dave Barris-Baker, in Perth, who originally worked on the original program as a project manager, phoned me from Perth and said, hey, let's do this thing again. Let's put it into the 21st century and call it e-learning and make it available. And I loved that idea. And that's how we got here. And we've been working day and night for around 6 months. And the product is beautiful.